What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another week of building Coruscant in Lego. Last update, I made the big decision and moved the entire MOC around 180 degrees. And now that that's finally done, I can really sink my teeth into the Senate section because I'd been debating on whether or not to move the MOC for quite some time, and I didn't want to do a ton of building in that area until I had made a decision. And you guys know I've already been working on that area for weeks now, building plateaus and steps, so it should be a pretty easy and smooth process to continue building it.
1 hour later.
I just uncovered the biggest problem I have yet to have with Coruscant, and it's a doozy. I'm also going to be working on the bank, making some real good progress on the interior walls, showing you some decaled clones, and recoloring a sky taxi. Lots of good stuff for you guys to enjoy, so don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button, and let's get started. I've got so much space now to set up camera shots and work on the bank, and it's awesome. I'm going to start by tiling parts of the wall to connect the plates together. There are smaller plates on the inside holding the wall up right now, but I'm going to have to take those off to build the interior brick wall. So for the time being, these tiles are going to be the only thing keeping this entire wall from crumbling down. Not a super easy task, and I've already popped the entire wall out of place once. Unlike the apartment complex, which has no large interior, I need to line the inside of the walls of the bank with brick, so when you look inside you don't see all the exposed filler plate. I wanted to keep the walls as simple as possible because I knew they were going to be super tall and costly being all brick. I'm making a rectangular outline of light bluish gray brick and filling the inside of it with dark bluish gray to create a simple but cool looking design. That way there would be at least some detail in the walls and they wouldn't be one solid color. That being said, I will make the two front pop out walls one color because I don't think that'll really matter because of how much smaller they are, and they're going to be tucked away where it'll be hard to see them once the roof is on. I also want to finish the main structure of the bankside plateau. The only available light bluish gray plate I have are small 4x4s, so I'll line the visible exterior with them and fill in the middle with dark tan plate. Unfortunately, a good section of this plateau is going to have to be taken apart, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Alright, before I get too deep into what I've been working on this week, I want to show you guys what I did on last week's live stream. So, pretty much all of the interior of the entertainment complex is tiled off. It's just that one little 1x section that's not done yet, and then a little bit down here. But it's looking pretty good. I don't know, you guys kind of already saw this in the last update because I had a lot of it done. But I did get some more of the shops done. I've got the roofs on and the back walls in. I've got the holes above each of the shops to showcase what they're selling, and good news, I got the hauls in that have the pieces for the shops, so in this update you guys are going to see what they're going to be selling. And one more thing over here, I decaled some more clones. I did my first shock troopers of the season. They turned out pretty good. I struggled with the tops, the fins. You can see I was pushing on them so much it actually started to rub the color out of them a little bit, which was unfortunate because I don't really know how else to do it. You know, you got to push them on for a while to make them stay. And I've got one more grunt, just your classic phase 2 realistic clone trooper. Now let's look at what's been going on over here. So there's that partially tiled off wall. It looks really bad right now, but you know, that'll change eventually. Here's the interior. I'm really liking how this wall looks. This very simple rectangular design looks pretty good. I ended up switching out the design from what I previously had, which was kind of unfortunate because I had to break apart a bunch of the wall, but I basically just added a couple extra light bluish gray bricks in there to add more steps, whereas before I think I just had one. One reason why I'm really excited to have these done is because I want to figure out like how this roof is going to be supported. What I'm thinking about doing is running a bunch of Technic beams across the top here, connected to the two walls, and then I'm going to have probably two big pillars, one right here and then one right here, and they're going to run up and connect to those Technic beams, basically creating a nice little frame, and then I'll put the skyscraper right above that because that's really the only thing I'm worried about. The rest of the wall is so light that it can support itself pretty easily, and you know, you're only going to have about here to right here that's free floating with nothing holding it up, and I don't think that's a long enough of a gap to really have any serious sagging. Last thing is the plateau. I'm not going to spend too long on it. Nice and solid and simple. I'm actually pretty glad I used these 4x4 plate because I had a bunch of them really since the beginning of the series and I didn't know what to do with them, so I'm glad I finally was able to put them to use. One last thing before I get to work. It's the beginning of the month, so it's haul time. And this one should be pretty exciting for you guys because I've got some minifigs, which are always fun to show. This is just full of brick, I think. Brick and slope, a lot of light bluish gray and dark bluish gray brick. Got some more brick in for the roads. I want to get a bunch of this brick in so I can start this side road because I want to build the little scene where Captain Fordo's making his famous stand. Some more plate. Nothing too interesting in this box. It's the other haul you're going to want to see. It's funny, when you look at this tiny haul in this big box, it looks kind of pathetic. But that's just because I ordered this light bluish gray base plate. This is the last light gray base plate that I need for the mock, which is really exciting. I bought it on Bricklink because it was cheaper than buying one brand new, and honestly couldn't care less if I bought it if the base plate's already been used. More brick in here, boring stuff. This is the exciting stuff. First is a couple of animated Phase 1 clone troopers. I'm always on the lookout for clone troopers for cheap, and these guys were a steal at I think less than $8 each, which is really good. Unfortunately, you can see if my hand isn't shaking too bad, this guy's kind of gross and dirty, so I'm gonna have to wash him off, but I mean, I'm always happy to snag some of these classic bad boys. I got some more torsos to wipe. These ones are like doctors or nurses or something. I like it when I can find ones that only have printing on one side because it just makes my job easier. And last, we've got some, I don't remember what these are actually, but I looked at them and I was like, these will make for perfect generic alien bodyguards. Just, some kind of generic little minifigure that'll look great in Coruscant. And I was able to pick up two of them. I think they were like $1.50 each or $1.90 each, which is awesome for some good looking minifigures like these. If anybody knows what these are, let me know in the comments. All right, that's it. Time to get back to work. I'm going to keep working on this Senate section, getting everything put together so I can one day maybe actually start the Senate building. It's time to get the tunnel rebuilt. I decided on only making it 16 studs deep and adding a wall of black brick along the back to represent it going further off into the darkness. There just wasn't really any good reason to make the tunnel go back any further, and the inverted light bluish gray slopes I have to use to create the arch are not cheap. I'm using some black slopes to build part of the wall since I never use them for anything else, and this will free up some more of the regular brick to be used as frames in my mock challenges. I also need to add some more slopes to the outside of the tunnel wall. We got a problem here. I just uncovered the biggest problem I have yet to have with Coruscant, and it's a doozy. So I was getting prepared to build these stairs. I had the tunnel set up, that section's done. I had my camera set up on the slider, lights, everything, guys. I hit record and borrowed one of these steps from the other side, just to get myself started, just to have a little bit of a reference point. And check this out. It's too big. It doesn't fit in this gap. And I built this side. You can see I'm so angry and breaking things. This piece was built over here. You remember this whole flight of stairs came in first, so that means this is supposed to be right. And the fact that it fits snugly over there tells me there's probably problems over there and something's not lining up as well. Sure enough, I start to do some digging and realize these two tunnel pieces were I think it was one stud off. That's why I have these green stacks right here lining it up with the sidewalk to make sure everything's in the right spot now. So I moved those into the right position, and look what we have now. But wait, it gets better than this whole set of stairs being off and needing to be broken and rebuilt. This plateau is wrong as well. Talk about a trickle-down effect. Mess up here, stairs are off, plateau is off. And this happened in part because I took these stairs and instead of, measuring things out, I just grabbed the stairs from over there, assuming they were correct, and, put them in here and then built everything off of those, which is how this plateau ended up being wrong because the stairs were extra long because, everything was scooted this way. And so that plateau is correct, but then it ate into this plateau. And to make matters worse, I can't even just shave off one stud. You can see the end of some of these is a full-on 2x8 plate. And so, I can't just take one stud off of that. This has given me serious Utapau vibes because there were a couple of times there where I did my math wrong and things got messed up and I had huge problems as a result. This really sucks. Not only because, all this is wrong, but instead of making more progress tonight, I have to take apart and rebuild stuff I've already done. But this is a great look at large-scale mock building. Mistakes happen, and sometimes they can be pretty bad considering the size and scale that I'm building at. But, lesson learned. I now know not to rely on pre-built sections, but to make sure I count out the studs and make sure everything is the right proportion no matter how many times I've had to build it. Not gonna lie, that was one of the lowest points I've hit working on this mock. I had to go eat a couple cookies to cheer myself up and calm down. It was mostly the thought of all the time I had spent building going to waste that made me so frustrated, and the fact that I had a hard time even understanding and explaining to you guys what happened. That's something I really struggle with when making these updates, verbalizing the thoughts in my head in a way that makes sense without rambling. So hopefully I was able to explain what happened pretty well. I'm now building a completely new set of stairs for this side of the Senate section because I just don't want to deal with adjusting the messed up set right now. I decided to postpone further work on the mock until I fixed this plateau and stairway. That way it wouldn't be hanging over me like a dark cloud and I could forget about it and move on. Luckily I don't have to completely take apart the plateau, just detach the inner wall and move it over 2 studs and reconnect everything. Man, that was absolutely brutal. I was so mad at myself, but all the mistakes have been corrected, everything has been readjusted and rebuilt, and in its place is sweet, glorious, and most importantly, permanent progress. Both steps have been started. Both plateaus are in permanently. The tunnel is in, the black wall behind it. Things are finally coming together, and I am loving it. I have lots of parts coming in to be able to work on new sections next week, like more of the bank. This back road where Fordo's going to be making his last stand. And what has me most excited is the rest of the parts for the brick built statues are coming in. So I promise next week there's going to be some really good and interesting stuff. But that being said, there's still one more thing to do this week. I forgot to mention in my haul that I got some parts in to recolor the air taxi. I want to make it dark blue with yellow highlights, and the tough part is trying to find the needed parts in dark blue. In particular, the large slopes on the corners, so I think I will probably end up using dark bluish gray pieces for those, which should go with the dark blue nicely. But enough about taxis. Let's talk about what's going down next week. Oh man. What an update. With me being this far into the series and having only 1/3 of the MOC left, I really don't see myself making a bigger problem than what I did with that front area of the Senate section. But everything's fixed and adjusted. It's water under the bridge. I'm sure I'm going to wake up tomorrow and just have a good laugh about it. Like I said, lots of great parts coming in next week. I'm really excited to work on that section where Captain Fordo makes his stand, doing some more work in the bank, and most importantly, building those brick-built statues, because I want to see them, and I'm sure you guys want to see them as well. All that being said, that wraps up this update. Don't forget to let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments, and I will catch you next time. But until then, happy building.